right now, let me turn it over to Veena.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk with you guys. I'm really excited to talk, but still I'll try my best to talk about the sleep. I had a problem for sleeping, at night, taking turns here or there. But I never tried meditation and anything. I am a student of Dr. Sachin from long time. But as I moved to Dallas, I was not connected with him. But in this COVID-19 problem and pandemic time, I was connected to Dr. Sachin, and he told me, okay, come on the Zoom and we can do some yoga and meditation. So I'm really very lucky to join this group again, and I joined it. And it is really a very wonderful experience for me in this 1 year. I started doing yoga, and then after that, meditation. Meditation, as I didn't do it before, it was hard for me to sit at one place and concentrate my mind. But as Dr. Sachin said, you should be very regular, dedicated, and do the practice of doing the things again and again, and you will win the race. So I started doing, as he said, okay, get up early in the morning, go for a walk, and do all those things. Drink hot water, then shower, then doing massage. So I did each and everything, and then I was ready for doing the yoga. After yoga, the meditation. So in the beginning, it was hard, but later on, I started getting my concentration on sitting there at one place and then trying to concentrate my mind. In this way, I got a change in my life. On that night, I could sleep better. And then I got up early in the morning with a very fresh instinct. So then I started doing the things, according to Dr. Sachin. He said you should eat your food, greens, and then take your nuts and hot water or like that. I started drinking my pitta, vata, and kapha tea. That helped me too for sleeping. And then I started doing the walk. The walk affected me to lose my weight also. I reduced 10 to 15 pounds of weight, and that gave me more motivation to work on this meditation. Now, if I don't do my meditation, really, I don't feel good. It's just like addicted. I have to do it. Rain or shine, I have to come and sit there and do my meditation and do all my other things. Really, I'm very thankful to Dr. Sachin for guiding this path and making my life so easy and happy. I'm happy with my grandkids. I enjoy my time. I do help in my family, to my daughter. Of course, we cannot get out of the house, but still, I am always in a helping hand mood. I always try my best to help everyone. So this is really a miracle in my life that with the Dr. Sachin's help, I changed my attitude and my sleep and my health also. Thank you so much, Dr. Sachin. And thank you so much for giving me time to speak.
Very good. Veena, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I think it's something very insightful about how Dr. Sachin has been able to help you, and at the same time, what you have practiced, in terms of meditation and walks and all those things that you mentioned. This is extremely useful for other participants to understand how you can make the changes in your life. So appreciate you sharing that with us all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right. So we will move over to Amal.
Good morning to everybody who are listening to this program. Now, I am an ordinary man, quite an old man by all standard, 84 years almost, and that too quite sick. I have cardiac problems and pulmonary hypertension, etc., but I don't bother for a thing because Dr. Sachin has taught us to be positive and try to be healthy mentally. Now, my experience, I have joined a civil aviation department as air traffic controller when I was quite young. And we had to do shift duties, afternoon, morning, and night. Now, my seniors told me that, look, you have to change your day into night and night into day. I didn't understand what they want to mean. He said, look, everybody, even a dog, sleeps in the night, but you have to stay awake and alert. For that purpose, in the day, you have to sleep, and in the night, you have to stay awake. Now, those days, I was not aware of the body clock and circadian rhythms and all those things, which now I came to know later on through a crack in the wellness code. But what I did was that I used to sleep. I mean, the day I have to do night duty. I will sleep in the day, and even after the day, in the after night duty, I will sleep like a log. So that kept me going on. Otherwise, those who don't do that, they suffer from heart attack and all sorts of problems. Anyway, now Dr. Sachin told me that I have to talk about my problems regarding what has caused this pandemic any harm to me. Well, not sleep, but it is something else that is, I mean, because of my fragile health, I was not allowed to go out and walk near the park or anywhere. So by staying alone, and I live in a townhouse, so I don't have much space to walk. So that has weakened my muscles, the leg muscles. Though I do some free exercises and all, but that made me. I'll add at least 10 years in 1 year. Now, uh, anything special you want to know, sir? I can share with you about sleep.
No, anything that you did personally to change that, to adjust to your new routine uh, of day and night, that will be interesting to understand that how you went through the whole journey while you were working as a ATC controller, right?
Yeah, that is okay. But my friends used to suggest me all wrong things. You start smoking and you will stay awake. And after, whenever you feel drowsy and all, have a small peak and all that. But I never listened to all those things. And I carried on like that because I had a wonderful lesson in my life. It started quite early. I am lucky. I was told that an aimless life is a miserable life. All of us should have an aim,
Hmm.
and the quality of your life depends on the quality of your aim.
Hmm.
Now, what we normally do is to run after money, position, and all. Now, I realize that those who run after money, they either land up as a fugitive or in the jail. So I never chased that. And I could differentiate between my need and desire. My need is very little, and I am happy. Second, I had to know that what is the aim of my life. I couldn't find out. So I was told, okay, the aim of life is to find the God or self in your body and manifest. It's not an easy task. I have been trying it for such a long time, but fortunately or other, I was a little helpful when even before coming to USA. And third is I learned from Ramana Maharshi that a successful man is one who is happy within and makes others happy. Now that became my motto, and I try to do that. And I do it. It costs nothing, absolutely. I to be happy with it. It is all within myself and make others happy. I have a wonderful person. Fortunately I came. That is Dr. Sachin, who is always smiling and helping others. He is giving back to the community what he has learned from others. It is a wonderful experience. I have learned a lot from this Correctness Well group every time. And of course, there are certain things which I learned that, they said, motion is lotion. It's a wonderful statement, and it is. We have to, if we are just sitting on a couch, and then we had it. I personally think that happiness is the main key to the sleep, good to well sleep. That's also.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I think you brought out some very interesting pointers for all of us, and I'm sure when we get into discussion with Dr. Agarwal, he'll touch upon some of those things. Just to keep the ball rolling here, I'm going to request Aruna.
We are all in a different time zone, so good evening, good afternoon. I am Aruna Patel, and I would say about 8 months ago, I was connected through a friend to Dr. Sachin Desmukh, and how my life was changed. I was always doing yoga, but no one had explained details and how important things in the life like sleep, eating right things, and being disciplined. And as the Vinaji has said, we are doing all the 7 chores in the morning, walking every day, and things like that. Back home, our grandparents always had set up a time in the evening before you go to sleep and chant some mantras like Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranata Klesha Nasaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. At that time, we didn't know what it means because they told us, let's do the family prayers. We all get together and do it. Then now, as you get matured in the age, you realize how you sing lullabies to the babies and how it affects your sleep. And during your sleep, your brain and your heart, everything is calmed down. And how it says, Sachin Bhai always says, rest and repair. So everything is being repaired. And when it's repaired, next morning, you are up, you are very energetic, you're fresh, and you're rolling to do your everyday activities. End of the day, with either you have outside influence on your brain, you have to rest and repair. So that's why the few things helps. The very important thing is meditation that controls your thought process. Then shower. Shower is like our body is made of 70% water. So that also works as a chitta suddhi. And when your chit is purified, your process of your blood flows, goes to the brain, to the heart, and it gives a very good energy for the overall of your body.
Yeah, Aruna, it's very interesting what you're bringing out, the role of sleep to regenerate both your mental and physical side of your body. And that's very important. Hitash, could you unmute and turn on your video and share your experience and keep it short if you don't mind?
Yeah, so I'm Titash. Hi, everyone. So my experience with sleep has been in the context of chronic pain management, actually. And so the past 5 years, I experienced lots of back pain, upper back and lower back, which was a result of scoliosis, which is a very common condition that causes your spine to be curved. And also, I think for the younger generation, this is a kind of a trend that I've been observing, where with more and more computer work and work from home, our postures are not the best. And so our sleep posture is also something that kind of ties into this and can cause bad posture habits over time, and therefore resulting in pain as well. And so some of the changes that I made in the past year to help myself relieve the pain was to actually switch to a mattress, a new mattress. So I used to have memory foam mattresses, which I noticed that was not supporting my back in its natural alignment. And I happened to discover this Japanese futon mattress, which is a very thin layer of cotton mattress. And immediately within a few weeks, I noticed that it helped keep my back and my spine straight, and it kept my lower back and shoulders from sinking into the mattress and kept it kind of on a firm surface and supported. So definitely helped a lot with my pain symptoms, and definitely recommend checking into looking at your mattresses and seeing how whether or not they're actually helping your posture while you sleep. And the second thing that I also made a change around was with my pillows. So I was experiencing neck pain as well, and kind of went through a series of about 7 to 8 different pillows, and finally ended up with a pillow which is a very flat kind of form, and it helped with kind of my something I've realized or noticed is that different sleeping postures may require different kinds of pillows. So if you're a back sleeper, then a flat pillow is preferred. And then for side sleepers, perhaps a more higher pillow is something that would be better for you. So every person has a different kind of sleeping preference, which are ergonomics preference that might support their sleep. And so, yeah, so besides the mattress and pillows, the third thing that I want to mention is that the hand posture is something that I also have been kind of working around. So I used to sleep on my hand, and over time I noticed nerve pain and tingling in the hands. So, so something that I kind of learned from my therapists was that you want to keep your hands in a neutral position while you're sleeping. So it should not be bent at the elbows, and it should not be stretched out, but it should be in a neutral position so that it's kind of resting and not doing a lot of work and not being strained. So yeah, so those are some lessons I learned over the past couple of months to kind of improve my posture and therefore reduce pain as well. So
thank you so much, Titash. I think you touched upon another aspect of sleep, and the posture and the bed and the mattress and all those things which come into play. So thank you so much. And I think at this point we have heard exciting things from all of the panelists here, Veena, Aruna, Amal, and Titash. And at this point, I would like to introduce Dr. Sanjay Agarwal, who is a distinguished speaker and expert for the panel, for the webinar today. And, if I may yeah, just add a few things, he has outstanding credentials, obviously, as a physician, and is the CEO of the Sleep Center, California Sleep Center, and the CEO of California Specialty Physicians. But he has years and years worth of experience working on these aspects of sleep. So without much ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Agarwal. And you heard quite a few things right now, and I'll just turn it over to you, and then we'll get into Q&A after that.
Thank you, Mr. Janarkar. Thank you to all the panelists, Aruna, Titash, Amal, Veenaji, to share your experiences. And, it's very interesting because all of you point towards certain things which are kind of bread and butter of my practice. So, when Veena mentioned about yoga, meditation, and things helping about the quality of sleep and being happy with that, happiness brings in the good sleep, which Amal also pointed about. I think that is so true, though. So I just wanted to touch upon as to what's the physiology of sleep. In my last presentation for the same platform, I had mentioned about the physiology of sleep, what is normal. and then something creeps in which makes it abnormal, and then you had to make a solution as to how to fix that to go back to normal again. So normal sleep for an adult, all of us are adults here, so I don't know how many participants there who are in the child age group, but basically as an adult, we need about 8 hours of sleep. Let's scale back about 10,000 years ago. And I would say that, we didn't have any devices that time, no computers, no smartphones, no TV, and no night shift work. And sun goes down and we used to go down, sun wakes up and we used to wake up as well. So early to bed makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise, the British used to say. And in our practices in Asian culture, we used to wake up in the morning, do your yoga, do our daily chores, and get back to work by 7 o'clock in the morning. So Brahma Muhurta and all the concepts which you might have heard in the past is actually now proven to be true. And that's where, Amal's comment about circadian rhythm comes into play. As to there is a rhythm in the body. So the rhythm in the nature, sun wakes up at 6 o'clock in the morning, somewhere around 6 o'clock in the morning, and sun goes down, sunsets happen at 6 o'clock in the evening when moon takes over. And that's about 24 hours a cycle. And that's been there for billions of years. So interestingly, we found that the sun controls the center part of the brain through this very small pea-sized nucleus body, and that's called the suprachiasmatic nuclei. And that secretes melatonin, and actually that controls the entire body through the hypothalamus tract and the pituitary gland, and secretes all those, 16 different hormones which pituitary gland secretes, including a growth hormone and stress hormone and sex hormones and whatnot. And I think that controls the whole dynamics of the body. So every cell in the body is controlled by the sunlight. So sunlight, through we expose ourselves to sunlight, and that makes us less depressed, more happy. So the concept of sun god and sun temples and stuff like that back in India comes from that. So I believe that waking up in time and sleeping in time, ideally maybe 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. or 9 p.m. to 9:30 a.m. to p.m. to 5:30 a.m. is the best time. So I way to do it. Now, let's say scale back now 10,000 years coming present. And that's where Amal's thing was. If he has to work in the night shift, then it's a whole different disorder in the CPT code. In medicine, we have a disease code called ICD codes and a procedure code called CPT code. And everything has been numbered, just like we are numbered. All of us are numbered. Social security number and Aadhaar card number and PAN number and whatnot. I think we all numbered. So we diseased also are numbered, and the CPT codes are numbered as well. So there's a CPT code for jet lag syndrome, and there's a CPT code for shift work disorder, and there's a CPT code for advanced sleep phase and delayed sleep phase. And the reason why they are all there is because circadian rhythm is so rampant in the community. People like adolescents in the teenage group, they tend to go to bed by, let's say, 2 o'clock in the morning. And as they start further into the social activities, playing with all those new sites, I can't even remember them. So they are so busy, they go to bed at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then they have to go to school at 8. So where do you get your 8 hours, 9 hours of sleep, which is needed for you to protect your body, repair, which Veena talked about and Amal talked about, and happiness? They're all dependent on your 8 hours of sleep in the night, for sure. So you need to get your 8 hours of sleep. So that's delayed sleep phase. Your phase is out of synchronization from 10 to 6, the way I was talking about. So not synchronized with the nature. So to create that, let's say if you're working at 10 o'clock, going to work and waking up at 6 o'clock, coming back home, and you go to bed at 7. So what I would suggest, Amal, is that maybe what I tell my patients is to go to bed at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you get your at least 6 hours in a consistent manner in one consolidated phase. And that's where the physiology of sleep matters again, because you go from your stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 sleep, then you have a REM sleep pattern, and this is about 90 minutes a cycle. And you want to have this 90-minute cycle back to back, at least for 3 or 4 of them, to be able to get that repair process the body needs. So stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 3 is what we call deep sleep. And these 3 stages comprise of what we call as non-REM sleep. Then you have a REM sleep, so non-REM and REM. And non-REM is divided into stage 1, which is just a transition sleep, going to stage 2, where you spend most of the night. And stage 3 is a deep sleep, where actually the body repair process takes place. So it's important and it's very imperative that you actually sleep your 6 hours at a go if you can. It's not good to sleep 2 hours in the morning, then do some chores, come back, do some chores, 2 hours of sleep again, and then 1 hour sleep in the evening, because the back-to-back sleep has not happened. So, and I also want this to be in a consistent manner. You don't see the sun waking up at 6 o'clock someday and 4 o'clock someday and 10 o'clock someday, and then or winter season coming at in June and the summer season coming at October some years, and it doesn't happen that way. Well, we're not talking about last 10 years with the weather change, all the climate change happening around. But I think this is what normal is, and we want to create normal. And that's coming back to Tita's point when she talks about, I want to have a, yeah, the soft mattress is not good because you want to create a natural environment for sleep. So the natural environment for sleep would be, think about midnight. What happens? It's totally dark out there. It's totally silent out there. You can hear a pin drop silence. You can hear a pin drop. So you want to create the same environment when you are sleeping in the daytime, right, Amal? So if you are sleeping, let's say 7 o'clock, your bedroom should be totally dark. You want to make sure that the nighttime environment is maintained. You want to have a nice pillow which can give you comfort, not like 5 pillows looped up and your neck is bent all over. Sometimes I hear people, oh, I use 3 pillows to sleep, but you cannot sleep with 3 pillows because your neck will be all bent. That's not normal posture for the body. So you want to maintain the normal spine posture as well. So let's say if you have, like Tita's point, she mentioned about having a spine scoliosis or kyphosis, and you want to have support that system as much as you can with the support of pillows or decent sized firm mattress, good pillow cover. So just like spine is elevated just about 3 or 4 inches. And that's a whole different science where I'm not expert enough to talk on that. But you want to create a as close to normal sleep environment in the daytime. So let's say Amal goes to bed at 7 o'clock in the morning and wakes up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He has to maintain the same nighttime environment in the daytime, and no exposure to light at 7 o'clock in the morning, because in the evening we have this yellow lights around, not the white light, which actually affects the quality of sleep because a hormonal imbalance happens. So some good sleep qualities would be, I would say, sleeping in a very consistent manner, in a consolidated fashion every day at the same time to go to bed. Try to get your 7 or 8 hours of sleep on a daily basis. Less sleep is going to make you unhappy as well. And meditation and yoga and other things, which I'm actually very happy that Sachin promotes all that to all his clients. This is something which is very crucial for having a proper good night's sleep as well. So that would be my take home point from all these presentations from the wonderful panelists. I'll be happy to answer any questions otherwise. Thank you, Vipin.
Dr. Agarwal, there are questions coming in, and I'm going to relay them to you.
Please.
There is a question about how do you optimize sleep if you're suffering from diabetes and high blood pressure? Is there something you have a suggestion about the optimization of sleep?
So diabetes and hypertension, I don't know if they affect the quality of sleep in the night, but maybe in other forms. For example, if you are diabetic and you're not properly managed, and then you have to wake up to go to the bathroom 3 or 4 times in the night, and then you take about 30 minutes to go back to sleep, then that's not optimal. So you want to have a good control of diabetes. On the corollary, if you have sleep apnea, there's one of the diseases which we see, and everybody talks about sleep apnea nowadays, but nobody talks about circadian rhythm or the insufficient sleep in the night, which is about 8 hours, and sometimes people sleep. We Americans tend to sleep just about 4 or 5 hours and work 2 jobs and social life and this and that, all that put together. So if you don't sleep your 8 hours, and if you have diseases like sleep apnea, that leads to poor control of diabetes. So hemoglobin A1C, I'm sure the questioner would have this concept of hemoglobin A1C, which is measures your hemoglobin or your overall control for the past 2 months. If that is high, then it suggests that maybe there's a chance that he might have sleep apnea, which also leads to hypertension, and diabetes control is poor. So about 50% people with diabetes and hypertension have sleep apnea as a comorbid condition. So I would suggest that maybe look for sleep apnea, maybe increase your sleep time to about 8 hours, if not 8, at least 7 hours on a daily basis, and try to make it consistent. That would be my suggestion.
There's another question which is, I think, probably going to be shared by a lot of people, and this is about not sleeping well because there is all kinds of weird thoughts going in your head which have no direct relevance to your life, but they happen to create the disturbance that you cannot have a sound sleep. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow, this is something where I think Sachin will be able to help. So I think the ability to stop your mind is, I can easily say that, okay, just stop thinking about processes. That's what I tell my people. Don't take your work to bed. Don't take your smartphone to bed. Don't start listening to things. Don't worry about your boss, what's going to tell you tomorrow. Don't worry about what's going to happen to things. It's going to happen anyway. So I think don't take your problems to bed is easy said than done. But I think learning to how to do that, meditation, soft music, there are millions of apps out there, or sleep songs or sleep lullabies or water sounds, and whatever suits your fancy. I think the thing would be to not think about problems. You decide among yourself as to, I don't want to take my problems to the bed. I don't want to think about things till tomorrow. uh, you can't solve the world hunger problems, so why worry about it today? Let's do it. Let's think about, let somebody else worry about it. At least get your 8 hours of sleep on a consistent basis.
And would meditation or something before you
Definitely
go to
helps.
sleep, would that help?
Definitely helps for sure.
So the
I'm
other
not
question
qualified. Yeah.
here, which has come in, is kind of an inverse of the problem of having to sleep, that you're sleeping too much. That, is that how that can be corrected?
So sleeping too much is what we call as hypersomnia. Hypersomnia has got many issues. Many reasons can cause hypersomnia. As I said, your average sleep time, if I map, so there's something called bell-shaped curve. I don't know how many of you know, but bell-shaped curve simply means that if I take 100,000 people and I say as to how many hours does all this 100,000 people sleep, I would hit a target at 8 hours on a general basis, and that's a tip of the bell. But there are some people who will be sleeping and happy with just 6 hours of sleep. And then some who is going to be other end of the tail, which is going to be sleeping 10 hours a day in 24 hours. But in all said and done, we accept that this norm of sleeping about 7, 8 hours in the night is considered to be normal throughout the world. And if you sleep 9 hours and you think that's what you need to function, maybe you are a long sleeper. So there's a separate CPT code for long sleeper as well as short sleeper. So it's possible that you may be a long sleeper, but more often than not, if you are telling me that you sleep instantly, sleep is not a problem at all. You go to bed at 8 o'clock in the night and you wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning and you're perfectly fine. Sleep is not an issue. And that is actually an issue because you're sleeping 12 hours in the night. So why would that be? So most common problem for people who are having hypersomnia is what we look for as sleep apnea. So sleep apnea simply means, because it's come in second time, I want to say 2 lines about that. So sleep apnea simply means you're closing your airway from inside, and that can happen like maybe more than 5 times an hour is called as abnormal. So if you're closing your airway, so total open airway versus totally closed airway is called apnea. But there's something called hypopnea as well, means less air going through, or airway is partially narrow, and that less air going through and all can cause the body to react as well. So each time you do that, each time your airway is closed because of collapsing of the airway or because of structural abnormality, that leads to less air going into the body. Body goes into the panic mode. The adrenaline system responds, and that wakes you up. You have to wake up to have that. Otherwise, the body keeps on fighting. And that's where the hypertension happens, the arrhythmia problem happen, heart attack happens, reflux disease happens, muscle pains happen, joint pains happen. I mean, I can go on and on and on. All these issues are linked because the body is fighting at that moment. And to relieve that obstruction, you have to wake up for a few seconds. And this happens hundreds and thousands of times each night. And that leads to daytime sleepiness, or you sleep longer to be feeling better. To get your 8 hours sleep or get your deep sleep or REM sleep, you need to sleep longer period of time. So hypersomnia is the main cause is sleep apnea, but then other causes like narcolepsy, for example. Maybe you're kicking your legs a lot in the night. We call that restless leg syndrome or periodic leg movement disorder. Maybe you have idiopathic hypersomnia. Maybe you have reflux disease. Maybe you have asthma. Maybe you have psychiatric issues which are being controlled. So all these, if you type hypersomnia on Google browser, it's going to show you all those things which I just not talked about, and many others, of course. So it's a good idea to have it checked. I would start with sleep apnea management, evaluation and management first. That's the first step.
And what about these machines which you use for sleep apnea and the difficulty one has to use this machine and try to sleep? Uh,
Just get used to it. I
just
think
get
I
no way out of it.
no, I can tell you that this is one of the best things which has happened to mankind. Being a sleep specialist, I can tell you that after the wheel, I personally feel. I mean, I'm a critical care specialist, and I'm a pulmonologist, and I'm also as so mentioned, I'm an MBA as well. I've seen a lot of problems and S-bar methods of dealing with things, but I think this is one of the best things which has happened to mankind. The easiest way to keep this open is to not sleep. But as I said, we need 8 hours of sleep. So one more method to do that would be you can come to my office every evening and I can put a tube down your throat and I can, you can breathe, you can bypass that closure I was talking about. And that closure is easy said and done, but coming every evening and you can take the tube out in the morning. Or there are 30 other things which are people are trying outside. And everybody is trying to Bhaiti Ganga mein haath dholo types. Everybody is trying to find money way out of to how to make money on this huge pandemic, much more than I think half the world has this issue. So coming back to point, CPAP machine is easiest thing to do. Like for example, I give example, I cannot see now. And I cannot see, I can live with that if I decide to, or I can put these glasses on and I can see very clearly. So I hate these glasses, but I cannot see without it. So the mask, all you have to do is to find the right mask which fits you. If you're a size 9 shoes and you put size 8 shoes or size 12 shoes, it's going to be uncomfortable. So more often than not, I see people in the community where they have not been taken care of very well. Here is, you have sleep apnea, here's a machine, okay, I'm done with you. My job is done, I made my money, I don't care about you anymore. And that's the problem, which and half the people, they are not ready, mentally they're not prepared to use the machine because it takes 5 minutes of extra effort in putting the tube on, the mask on, give the machine cleaning in the morning and all that. But there have been patients, once you educate them about these and then the association of their arrhythmias and hypertension and diabetes along with these problems, they tend to accept better. So in my office, the acceptance rate is about 85% compared to the data out in the world is about 55%. So I would suggest us get used to it, please.
Right, right. Now, it's a slightly different topic here about melatonin, CBD, and other supplements which are out there in the market. Uh, what are your thoughts about that?
Any specific question on that, or do you just want to use the melatonin to help you sleep? What's the question?
Yeah, the question is, is it, first of all, use of these items, melatonin or other supplements, is that advisable, not advisable?
So that again depends, and that's why there's a whole sleep medicine specialty. So just to summarize, maybe in 2 lines, sleep aids are not good. Okay, but then there are certain conditions where you need it. Acute adjustment disorder, for example. If I have a death in the family, or if I am like having some acute events which are affecting my sleep. For example, if I lost my job, or moved, or have to do things, I have to present the paper tomorrow, stuff like that, then I need something to help me sleep. So that is something where I tend to give sleep aids for maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months. If somebody is having a hard time tolerating the CPAP machine, I've used that as well. But I tend not to give sleep aids because most of these sleep problems in the night either are circadian rhythm issues. If an elderly person, for example, coming back, 70 to 75-year-old man coming to me and saying, I just can't sleep in the night. Well, let's solve the problem. Oh, I get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I can't sleep through the night. What time you go to bed? I go to bed at 7 because I feel very sleepy. So you go to bed at 7 and you wake up at 2 o'clock. You already got your 7 hours of sleep. What do you want me to do? Maybe you should not take any sleep aids to go to bed at that time, right? So that sleep aid is not good for this gentleman. And if you take a sleep aid, any of those PAMs, diazepam, clonazepam, and all that, any of these PAMs, they actually tend to make you drowsy and you affect your cognitive behavior in the daytime as well. And that's why it's contraindicated. So any of these sleep aids, and let's say if you have sleep apnea, which is not diagnosed, and when you have that closure, and I told you that you wake up for a few seconds to open this up, and then you go back to sleep, and then you close again. And that's a game you play all night long. So each time you close, let's say 10 seconds later, I'm going to call this an event only if it lasts for 10 seconds. We call it apnea events. There's a definition criteria for that. Let's say if you're waking up, but you take your medicine not to wake up because you're waking up too many times in the night and you're not sleeping enough. Now, guess what? You're dying for a longer time. And if it lasts for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, you're dead. So I think it's not a good idea to take sleep aids because that leads to a longer events, that leads to a more of a problem. It's a natural process, so let it happen. So I think taking sleep aids to bring in sleep is not a good idea. I would rather have some kind of a psychological behavioral changes. Sachin can help with that, or any of those, um, fixing your sleep cycles, fixing your sleep hygiene issues, fixing your circadian rhythm. I think those are more important identification wise and implementation, find a solution for those than taking a sleep aid. As far as melatonin is concerned, melatonin is not a sleep aid. It does not bring in sleep. It actually modifies your circadian rhythm a little bit. So I use melatonin to help people come back to the synchronization. Let's say somebody goes to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning. I want to bring him back to 11 o'clock in the night. So I use melatonin in certain time zones. So if we say you need to take a melatonin 3 hours before your time, before the time I want him to sleep, to get his cycle back into place. So that's what my take would be on sleep aids.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all your insight that you're sharing with us.
Sure.
I know there are plenty of other questions which we are not likely to go through all of them right now, but I appreciate you being on the webinar and sharing your thoughts and insights with all of us. At this point, I'm going to invite Yogendra Bhavra. I think he has something to share with us, and we'll go with that at this point.
Thanks for a couple of minutes that I can talk about what we are doing. Dr. Agarwal has explained very clearly and very much in detail. So I'm not going to talk about sleep apnea, which is one of the major problems of the sleep disorder. What we do is what we have, let me show you. We have this wearable device, which is a ring. You wear it, and our focus is the heart health. As we heard from Dr. Agarwal, that sleep apnea could cause a lot of problems related to heart, arrhythmia, potential, which result in heart failure, stroke, high blood pressure. So our focus is the heart health. So we monitor, for that we do the sleep analysis and try to correlate parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system response, do the analysis, and then essentially take care of that, our predictive analysis, how are they doing. We also have a collaboration, as Dr. Agarwal said, the CPAP machine, we got to get used to it. That's the best thing there is out there for now. There are a lot of research going on in finding something which is better and easier to use. We are collaborating with a company that they are working on coming up with a much simpler device. But bottom line is our sleep analysis is focused on the heart health. And if with sleep analysis, if we can help with other companies improve the CPAP machine, then we are collaborating with them. So that's a very brief introduction about what we are doing.
Well, thank you so much. I think that's very useful uh, about information about what device you have come up with and how it could be of use to all of us who may have this kind of a problem.
Yeah, we have clinical trials currently going on in India in a couple of hospitals. We are almost ready to get an approval, FDA equivalent approval in India, and we should be launching our product over there in about 2 to 3 months.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Thank you. And Dr. Agarwal, we are just going to go back to some more questions to you if you don't mind joining the session here. You are already there, but I'll just relay a couple of questions to you. One is related to the range of deep sleep hours, as to how many hours of deep sleep is good, or what's your thought? What are your thoughts on that subject?
So just about to type that answer. I was looking at the question from anonymous attendee. Well, so as I was talking about the physiology of sleep, the non-REM and the REM sleep. So the REM sleep normally is anywhere between 15 to 25%. So if you take 25% of sleep, that's the upper end of normal. Then the 75% of sleep is in the non-REM sleep, in which the deep sleep again is about 18 to 25% as well. So about 25% of sleep is deep sleep in general. As a child, maybe a toddler sleeps about maybe 30% of sleep in deep sleep. The deep sleep changes less as compared to the REM sleep. An infant sleeps about 50% of sleep time in REM sleep, but as we grow older, we about sleep just about 20-25% of REM sleep. So REM sleep decreases more as we age compared to deep sleep.
Right. And there's one more question which relates to applications you have on smartphones these days. There's one application, I didn't know about it, but it tracks how long do you cough or you have kind of disturbance at night. Any, your thoughts on that subject about use of these apps and how do you correct the situation if you're coughing too much at night?
So all these apps which I know of, they basically use few of these available gyrometer and spirometer and other things to measure how much time you spend quiet time. So generally they're worn in the hand or the wrist. So you move your hand when you're awake, you move your hand a lot in the daytime, right? If you're quiet, if you sleep, you're quiet. You're not moving. So these machines are designed to track that, and they're going to tell you a kind of an analogy. Oh, you went to bed at 10 o'clock on Monday, but 12 o'clock on Tuesday, and or you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, your movement started again at 6 o'clock in the morning. So it gives you an amount of time you sleep in the bed every day. So that's fairly okay. But it does not, so those apps which talk about REM sleep or deep sleep, I would not buy that at all, because that's no way to measure that to the hand. There is a Kaiser Hospital does that device called WatchPad to check for home sleep study. It also gives you the REM sleep in that, and that's again one on the hand and with a similar concept. And it measures that REM sleep depending on the tone of your blood vessel, the radial artery. So it actually depends on that. Some of the publications are there, but it gives you there is 80 to 90% correlation with that. I don't think you can say that you woke up because of cough, or you woke up because of reflux, or you woke up because of asthma response, or you woke up because your bed was not right, or you woke up because your partner was snoring. But it will measure the amount of time you actually were restless in the night. So it will give you that information. So you have to figure out why that sleep was just about 4 hours last night. Oh, I was watching a movie until 2 o'clock and I woke up at 6 o'clock. So that's why I had 4 o'clock, 4 hours of sleep. It's not because it will tell you, oh, you were, doing something else. So it will tell you that you slept only 4 hours. So we had to deduce that information as to how we can modify. So these apps are good for screening, good for telling you as to what you need to mend. And I think that's where I would rest my case.
Wonderful. Well, I think with that, we are coming to the end of the webinar right now. I would like to thank once more Dr. Agarwal for sharing his insights and giving us the time. So thank you all, from all of us, for your efforts to be on this webinar.